Hello, my name is Lizzie Kennedy, and I'm the current coordinator at the Community Writing Center, and would like to thank you for viewing our virtual workshop on writing resumes and cover letters. Here at the Community Writing Center, we serve the Great Lakes Bay region through one-on-one consultations and writing workshops, all free of charge. The purpose of this workshop is to learn about how to write and format effective resumes and cover letters, and the audience for this workshop is any person who is or will be applying for a job and wants to revamp their resume. The only materials you might need will be paper and a writing utensil or anything you use to take notes, the Power Words handout, which can be found on our website, or optionally, a current resume that you'd like to update during the drafting period of this workshop. All of our workshops at the Community Writing Center aim to create an inclusive, respectful, and productive environment for all writers, and to provide feedback, strategies, and resources that writers need to improve their writing. Lastly, all of our workshops aim to encourage collaboration between writers through active conversation and participation. It's sometimes helpful to think of a resume as not merely a document listing all your past work experience, but rather as a narrative of who you are as a person. This is your first introduction to a potential employer, and it's sometimes helpful to think about a resume as a story about who you are and what you've accomplished. A powerful resume is your foot in the door where you prove to a potential employer that you are the best candidate for the job based on your education, past work experience, and other relevant experiences. Most importantly, your resume should represent who you are and what you've done. Obviously, your resume might look a little different depending on what type of job you're applying for. For example, a resume for a retail job might focus more on your customer service experience, while a resume for a job in construction might focus more on your management experience or teamwork skills. No matter what type of job you're applying for, it's important to have a persuasive resume that convinces an employer that you are the best person for that job. Most resumes typically have 5 to 6 standard sections that I'm going to go through with you in this workshop. There are 3 important questions to consider when writing your resume. What will you bring to the job? What skills do you bring to the position? And what experiences do you have that work directly with the demands of the position? Answering these questions ahead of time helps inform your resume and allows you to shape it as a narrative of your most valuable skills, assets, and experiences. Once you have a basic idea of how you want to sell yourself, there's a few standard sections you'll want to include in your actual written resume. Of course, there's no one-size-fits-all way to write this because everyone's experiences will look a little different. This is just a basic overview, and we'll go more in depth on these sections as well as show you some sample resumes later in the workshop. The first section of your resume should always be your name and contact information. This might seem a little self-explanatory, but there are a few tips to making sure that this information is presented correctly. This slide shows an example of how you might want to organize that information. You'll want to include your first and last name, your address, your phone number, and your email address. Having both of these methods of contacting you makes it easier for an employer to potentially call you or email you to set up an interview. This example shows both a cell number and a home phone number, but only one is necessary if you don't have both. Additionally, you'll want to make sure that the email address that you use is professional. Another common resume section is an objective statement, although this section is not always necessary and it is often optional. So, if you're going to include an objective statement, you have to make sure that you make it count. Typically, the objective represents how you'd like to use your skills to relate to the position for which you're applying. One example of an objective might be to apply my exceptional leadership, interpersonal, and teamwork skills as a court services liaison with the Underground Railroad. Another example would be to utilize my exceptional communication, leadership, and lesson planning skills as a 5th grade math and language arts teacher at Hellebuck Simon Elementary School. If you choose to use an objective statement, it's sometimes helpful to ask yourself these 3 questions. What skills do you need for the job you're applying for? What skills have you developed in past jobs and experiences? And what skills will set you apart from others? An effective objective statement shows an employer that you possess valuable and relevant skills that you can directly apply to the position you're seeking. Generally, objective statements are not necessary for entry-level jobs, but can be impactful for more professional or competitive positions. The next section in your resume should be your education or training background. Everyone's education level is going to be different, but it's usually important to know any diplomas or degrees that you currently have. It's typically standard to only include your GPA in this section if it's a 3.0 or above. This slide and the one after it gives an example of how you might format the education section on your resume. It's important to note that you should include this section even if you don't have a college degree. It's perfectly appropriate to write about your high school diploma or your GED as well. This example is a good reference for if you have or are in the process of obtaining a college degree and are going into a field related to that degree. You'll notice that the writer gives an anticipated graduation date and tells the reader their college, major, and minor. The relevant coursework section is helpful particularly if you do not yet have any hands-on work or internship experience in a specific field, but have taken classes that are relevant to the position you're seeking. As mentioned before, degrees aren't the only important information that you can put in your education section. This first example shows a nursing certification that the writer received, while the second example shows an appropriate education section for a high school student. For this high school student example, notice that the writer also included a short reference to their academic involvements and awards that they earned while in high school. When discussing your job experiences, it's important to think of your narrative as a functional resume. This means that you should only include information that is most relevant for the job that you are seeking. Because a standard resume is usually only 1 to 2 pages, you only have enough room to list your most relevant job experiences. Typically, it's appropriate to put 5 positions or less, listed from most to least recent. Each position should have bullet points under them that help detail that job to a potential employer. These bullet points should firstly describe your duties during employment, and you should be specific by including information about those duties that may not be implied by simply the job title. You should also highlight the skills that you learned in the position that are transferable to the job you're currently applying for. Additionally, you should always use power action words. These words can be found on the Power Words handout found on our website, communitywritingcenter.com. These types of words will make your resume sound more professional and sophisticated. Let's take a look at a sample job experience section and talk through how we could make it stronger. This individual worked as a fry cook at McDonald's, and they described the experience by saying that they helped customers, stocked shelves, used cash register, cleaned store, and dealt with complaints. Think about how this job position could be strengthened using the tips we talked about in the last slide, such as being specific, discussing transferable skills, and using professional language. You'll notice that this example is much stronger. This writer describes their restaurant experience by saying that they assisted customers in a warm and friendly manner, stocked shelves during downtimes to ensure a professional environment, processed financial transactions through the cash register in a fast and efficient manner, and cleaned the store to maintain an appealing atmosphere to enhance customer satisfaction. Pay attention to a couple of the moves that the writer made here. Firstly, they use action words such as processed, assisted, and enhance in order to present a more sophisticated narrative. They also not only state what duties they had in this job, but also connected those duties to transferable skills such as quickness and efficiency, customer satisfaction, and maintenance of a professional environment. These type of skills can transfer from one job to another, even if those jobs are in separate sectors. Let's take a few minutes here practicing how to effectively describe your work experience on a resume. Choose one of your previous job experiences, or even the position you have now, and write down all of the responsibilities you had or currently have. Practice describing these duties using the Power Words handout. Also, if this is a job you used to have, make sure that you are referring to all of your job experiences in the past tense, such as I assisted customers, I stocked shelves. If it's a current position, you can use the present tense, assist, stock, etc. I recommend pausing the video here and writing for the full 5 to 10 minutes before continuing on to the rest of the workshop. Now that we've taken some time to draft about our own job experiences, let's move on to talk about another common section on resumes. A great way of setting your resume apart is by listing your volunteer or extracurricular activities, especially if you are a student or entry-level worker who may not have an extensive list of past job experiences. It's often a great way to show a potential employer how you engage with your community or work with others. Again, make sure to only include recent and relevant activities here. This example shows that the writer volunteered at both a nonprofit, Big Brothers Big Sisters, and was a member of their high school swim team. This example is also a good place to talk about the importance of dates. You'll always want to put starting and ending dates for all of your experiences so that a potential employer can visualize a timeline of your work. When it comes to references, choose wisely. Make sure you select people who know you well and can speak of your work ethic highly. Also, be sure that your references know that they are your references. Professors, teachers, and former employers are a good place to start. Not all jobs will request references, so sometimes it's appropriate to write references available upon request in this section. However, many employers do follow up with your references to discuss your experience and qualifications, so it's a good idea to make sure that whoever you choose can speak very highly of you. This example provides a basic format for you to follow when writing down your references. It's usually standard to give their name, position, company or place of employment, address of that company or place of employment, and contact information such as their phone number and email address. Just like with your own contact information, it's helpful to provide these two forms of contact, phone and email, so that an employer has more options if they choose to reach out to your references. Again, each resume will look different, and how your resume looks might depend on the type of job that you're applying to. However, there are a few features that it's always a good idea to include in your resume. Firstly, as mentioned before, always use past tense verbs except for current positions. Your resume should be in past tense because you are working off the assumption that the job you're applying for will become your current job, and therefore you want to present your past accomplishments as just that, in the past. You'll also always want to maintain consistency. A resume that looks clean and uniform will be much more appealing to the eye, and it will be much easier for a potential employer to find information. Pay attention to parallel sentence structure and, of course, constant correct grammar. Lastly, people read top to bottom and left to right, and therefore the most important information should be at the top and to the left. This is often called an F shape as well because readers naturally read in an F shape, reading the top few lines from left to right, and then gradually only reading the information to the right. We're now going to take a look at a couple different sample resumes so that you can get a feel for how all of these sections and tips present themselves in a physical resume. I'll show resumes for a variety of different experience levels so you can get a better idea of how to fit your accomplishments into your own document. As always, pay attention to the power words these authors use and how the samples describe duties and skills. This first sample resume is for an individual who does not have a college degree, but does have extensive restaurant experience. He lists his education and most recent job, providing details and dates so an employer can better understand the position. Notice that he uses numbers to help conceptualize his work. This is a good tip, especially if you are applying for a job that sets number goals for sales. You'll also notice that the verbs, such as interact, craft, clean, are in present tense because this individual currently holds this position. The second part of this resume provides two more relevant positions with dates of employment. Notice that this writer uses past tense verbs because he no longer works at these places. Here you'll also notice the writer's focus on transferable skills such as meeting industry standards, efficiency, cleanliness, and teamwork. This sample also provides volunteer experience so that the applicant appears more well-rounded and involved to a potential employer. This resume is a classic one-page document without any listed references. This is typical for many jobs because it gives potential employers the basic information that they need to know if the applicant is a right fit. Because this is an entry-level resume, you'll also notice that no objective statement is necessary. This sample resume, taken from SVSU's Career Services website, represents someone who is in the process of obtaining a college degree. Because this person has a few more advanced experiences and skills, you'll notice a few sections we haven't discussed yet. For example, this individual provides a link to their e-portfolio in their contact section, and further down gives information about professional development, special skills, and academic involvements and honors. It's important to note that you typically will only want to include special skills that set you apart from others. Microsoft Word and PowerPoint are standard tools nowadays, so it might not always be appropriate to list them like this person has done. Things like coding languages, audio recording programs, or software development are a bit more specialized and should be included in a section. Now that we've gone over what should be included in a resume and looked at a few sample documents, we're going to move on to talk about cover letters. A cover letter is typically your introduction to an employer and a place to tell your accomplishments and show how effectively you can communicate. Additionally, this letter gives you the chance to provide insight into your personality. Your cover letter should not simply repeat all of your experience that you listed in your resume, but rather provide a more personalized argument that you are a good fit for the position for which you're applying. Typically, cover letters are split into 3 sections, with each one being usually a single paragraph. The first paragraph of your cover letter should tell why you're contacting the person and mention how you heard about the job. You'll use this opportunity to show that you know something about the company at which you're applying. Your second section tells more about how you're an ideal match for the job. You should discuss your employment and educational experiences and how they relate to the position. This would be your opportunity to elaborate further on key points from your resume. If you find the second section running a little long, 7 lines or more, you can make this into 2 paragraphs. In your final section, thank your reader for their time, let them know that you look forward to their reply, and provide them with contact information. I'm now going to share a sample cover letter with you, and I ask you to pay attention to how the information in this document differs from the information that you'd want to include in your resume. This cover letter begins by giving the writer's address at the very top, followed by the contact information of the individual who they are addressing, in this case, Nancy West. The applicant then writes, "Dear Miss West, please consider the enclosed application materials for the position of sales representative at Orange Inc. I believe my extensive background in customer service, my prior notable sales positions, and my personal commitment to customer satisfaction would make me an excellent candidate for this position." The writer goes on to say, "My background includes positions as customer service associates within both call center and retail environments. Most recently, I worked on the customer service desk for Discount Mart, where my responsibilities included handling customer merchandise returns, issuing refund/store credits, flagging damaged merchandise for shipment back to vendors, and providing backup cashiering during busy periods. In addition, I've worked within 2 high-volume customer support call centers for a major telecommunications carrier and a satellite television services provider. In these positions, I demonstrated the ability to resolve a variety of issues and complaints, such as billing disputes, service interruptions or cutoffs, repair technician delays/no-shows, and equipment malfunctions. I consistently met my call volume goals, handling an average of 56 to 60 calls per day. These positions have provided me with not only strong skills in customer service and marketing, but have also greatly developed my personal work ethic and problem-solving skills that I believe would be a great asset to Orange Inc. I am confident that my ability to learn quickly and my eagerness to put customers first make me a prime candidate for your sales representative position. Feel free to contact me by phone or by email with any questions. Thank you for your time. I look forward to learning more about this opportunity. Sincerely, Sue Ling. You'll notice that Sue starts by making an overall argument that she would be a good fit at Orange Inc. based on her background, experience, and personal skills. This is a little more personalized than simply a generic resume and shows the reader that the applicant has thought about how their skills could fit in at their prospective company. Additionally, while Sue's resume likely would include her prior positions and job duties, in this cover letter she gets more personalized and specific. For example, while the resume might simply say that she managed customer complaints to ensure their satisfaction, in her cover letter she specifies which complaints and challenges she has experience solving. Furthermore, in the last highlighted sentence, she makes the direct argument that her skills align with the skills necessary to succeed at this company for which she's applying. You should also notice that this cover letter follows the basic 3-section format that we discussed earlier: an introduction, the discussion of her experience, and finally a respectful conclusion. While every cover letter will look a little different, this is a good example of how to present yourself to potential employers. I'd like to thank you again for viewing our virtual writing workshop. If you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to email us at ccw@svsu.edu. Additionally, the Community Writing Center offers free individual consultations via email or Zoom on any writing piece you might be working on. If you have a resume or cover letter that you would like one of our consultants to look at before you submit it, we'd be more than happy to do that for you. Also, please check out our website, communitywritingcenter.com, for more information about upcoming opportunities and writing workshops.